Welcome back to one of the most enthralling sessions of Science Scamper by EduCatUp, and I am your super science teacher Ambika. At EduCatUp, we always empower all our students as how to think and not what to think. So if you want to experience the same, then ensure to subscribe the EduCatUp YouTube channel. The subscription button is given just below, guys. If you like our video, don't forget to press the like button and ensure to hit the bell icon so that you can get all the latest updates from EduCatUp. Now, let's start today's session, and the topic for the day is separation of substances. Now, my dear children, you all know, and if you don't know, you must be aware that we are almost surrounded by mixtures. For example, we know that we are completely surrounded by air, and air is a mixture of gases. If we talk about the edible items you have, maybe in the morning, if you have a vegetable with a parantha, then a vegetable is also a mixture of many things. Like a vegetable contains raw vegetable, then spices, cooking oil, water. Even your parantha contains a lot of things. It contains wheat flour, it contains cooking oil, it contains water. So almost everything is a kind of a mixture. If we talk about milk which you drink, that is also a mixture because it contains some kind of water, then milk added together. Then you add sugar into it. Then you may add Bonvita or Milo or any kind of super energy powder. So that also becomes a kind of a mixture. Even the tea which you people drink or your parents used to drink, that is also a mixture because it contains tea leaves, water, sugar, isn't it? Milk. So, an ice cream is also a mixture. So, almost we are completely surrounded by different types of mixtures. Now, in this chapter, we are going to study the methods of separation of substances, means the method of separating the mixtures. Because obviously a mixture can only be separated. A single substance cannot be separated because it will be in its pure form. So mixtures are only the substances which can be separated. And why there is a need for separating those substances or mixtures? See, maybe to separate the components and then utilize them, to get a useful component, to remove the impurities or harmful substances. So there can be ample number of reasons that why we need methods for separation of mixtures or substances. Now let's move ahead and see that what we are going to study in this module. We are going to start with the methods of separation, and we are going to see 10 methods of separation in this module. The first will be hand picking, then threshing, winnowing, sieving, evaporation, filtration, sedimentation, decantation, churning and distillation. Then we are going to study use of more than one method of separation. That means if in a mixture we have more than two components, there are 3 or 4 components, then how we are going to separate that kind of mixture. Then can water dissolve any amount of a substance? We will also discuss about the solubility of water, and increase and decrease in temperature affects solubility of a substance. That if we are providing heat or if we are providing a cooling condition, then what will be the effect on the solubility? That will be our last concern for the chapter. Now let's move ahead. Methods of separation. Now, which method will be used to separate which mixture is decided on few parameters. Like it depends on the state, on the particle size of the substance. When I talk about state, it means the state of matter, the state of the substance, whether it is liquid, whether it is solid, whether it is in gaseous state. And what is the particle size, what is the physical state, all these things decide that which method will be used to separate the mixture. Now let's move ahead. The first method, as you can see on the screen, is hand picking. As the name suggests, and you can see an image also on the screen, it's a very common simple method used to separate solid in solid mixtures. That means when both the components of a mixture are in solid state. You just have to take the mixture in a saucer or in an open plate or in an open dish, and you can separate the particles very easily because they are easily visible. Particle size is different, color is different sometimes. The one of the best example is when your mother is cooking and she cleans dal, rice before washing them. She picks out the stones or the pebbles which are present in dal or rice. That method is hand picking. जब आपकी मम्मी खाना बनाने से पहले दाल साफ़ करती हैं, चावल साफ़ करती हैं, उसमें से जो भी छोटा कचरा है या कंकड़ है उन्हें अलग करती हैं, that is hand picking. As the name suggests, हाथ से उठा के अलग करना is hand picking. And it is very easy to do because ये आप सिर्फ उन्हीं mixtures में करते हैं बेटा in which you are very distinctly able to see the two components. आपको दोनों ही components mixture के अलग अलग दिखाई देते हैं. वहाँ पे आप हमेशा ये चीज़ करते हैं. ऐसा नहीं कि जहाँ पे आप confused हैं कि कौन सा useful component है और कौन सा harmful component है, आप वहाँ use करेंगे इस method को. No. Where you are very sure that which particle or which component of the mixture you want to keep and which component of the mixture you don't want to keep. Alright, now let's see the next method. Threshing. Now this method is something which is related to agriculture. जो खेती करते हैं, जो खेत होते हैं, fields होते हैं, this method is related over there. It is not used at home or in domestic purposes, but it is important to understand. Now threshing is something which is used to separate grains from the stalk. That means after harvesting the stalk which a farmer gets, जो फसल मिलती है और उस फसल में से जो आपको grains अलग निकालने होते हैं, उसके लिए ये method use होता है. In threshing, there can be two ways. One can be threshing by hand, as you can see on the screen, and the other can be threshing by thresher machine. Now, if we discuss about threshing by hand, what is done in that? The stalk of the crop is tied up. यानी कि जो फसल आप को कटी हुई मिली है या हार्वेस्ट की गई है, काटी गई है, उसको बांध देते हैं अलग अलग बंडल्स में. एंड द पीपल यूज टू हिट द बंडल्स ऑन द फ्लोर. जोर जोर से उन बंडल्स को फर्श पे ऐसे बीट अप करते हैं. उससे क्या होता है कि जो भी ग्रेन्स फसल में लगे होते हैं, गेहूं की फसल है, चावल की फसल है, इट्स अ राइस क्रॉप और इट्स अ व्हीट क्रॉप, द ग्रेन्स विल बी सेपरेटेड एंड द स्टॉक इज ऑलरेडी टाइड अप. So this is threshing. But nowadays with the advancement of technology, as we are in advancement of the time, we are in the advancing age, we have threshers also which are proper machines. In this you have to just put the stalk and your grains will be separated out in a very fraction of minutes, you can say. It saves a lot of time and energy which is otherwise required in threshing by hand. Now let's see ahead. Some action-packed info, guys. Very important and pay attention. It's really very important. Combine harvester or combine. See, this particular this is the name of the machine, combine harvester or also known as combine. This is a machine which can do three work or three purposes at the same time. It can do harvesting, threshing and separating grains from the straw. That means what it is doing, first it is cutting the crop from the field, harvesting, then it is separating grains from the stalk, that is threshing, and after threshing the grains which you get, उनमें जो हल्का सा भूसा लगा होता है या हल्के से जो रेशे होते हैं उन्हें हटाने का काम भी this machine is going to do. So this machine is actually a very big time saver. In addition, a lot of efforts and energy saver. So it's very popular these days in agricultural field and people use it because the three important steps of agriculture can be done in just one go. Isn't it wonderful, children? Now let's move ahead. Now, the next method is winnowing. Now, as the name suggests, wind, that means something related to wind, and this method is truly based on the force of wind. So, what it has to be done in this particular method, you have to take something in which you can keep the mixture, and from a height you have to drop the mixture on the floor. So what will happen? The lighter and the heavier components will get separated. The lighter components will blow away with the wind and the heavier components will settle down at the floor. This method is used to separate husk from grains after threshing. The third thing which your combine harvester or combine was doing, this is the same method which is otherwise used. Okay. Now, Sieving. Now this is something you all must have seen at your home and you all must be aware. When your mom used to cook tea, she always used a siever to separate it. I mean the tea leaves and the liquid tea which has been made. This is actually sieving. Sieving is what? You have a sieve. आपके पास एक net mash होता है, एक छलनी होती है जिसमें से आप अलग अलग कर सकते हैं कंपोनेंट्स को. आपने देखा होगा आपके घर में आटा भी छाना जाता है. When you have to make chapati, so beforehand the wheat flour has to be cleared out. It has to be cleaned out. So what is done? We take a big plate, we take the wheat flour in a wire mash, in a sieve, and we just move it a little bit. So the wheat flour comes out and the harmful or the unwanted substance remains on the surface of the sieve. So very easy method, very easy to use. Sieving is also done at the construction sites. You must have seen there is a big, as you can see in this picture, there is a big mash net with a framed thing and they put a lot of sand and gravels on it. So the cement and the sand comes down. So this method is used even at the construction sites, even at home. So a lot of usage. Now let's see ahead. Evaporation. Very familiar word for you all. You are studying it from your junior classes, from your past classes. So evaporation is something what? In which liquid water is converted to water vapor. And this method is used to separate a liquid mixture. That means a mixture in which one substance is liquid and the other can be a solid which has been dissolved. So basically to separate the soluble substance, this method is used. Now what is done? Whatever mixture you have to separate, heat it up, the liquid part will evaporate and the solid part or the residue will remain behind. Now this kind of evaporation is done to separate the mixtures, I'm again telling, which are soluble substances. That means the substances which are soluble in liquid. Now let's move ahead. Filtration. Filtration is a method which is just like you can say sieving, but the only difference between sieving and filtration you should know. See, in case of filtration, what happens? You can see in this image, you have a filtration funnel and a conical flask. Whatever mixture you have to separate, you will pour it down. The solid part or the residue will stick over here and the clear liquid will come over here as it is shown in the image. This is filtration. Same thing what we were doing in sieving also. In sieving also, for example, what you were doing, you were taking wheat flour, you were using a plate below and you were pouring the wheat flour, you were using a wire mash and the wheat flour was coming down and the unwanted substance on the surface. In this case also, for example, if your mom has made tea, what she will do? She will use a strainer. Chalni ka use karte hain, that is called a strainer. She pour the tea in that. Tea leaves, ginger, the cardamom, they remain on the upper surface and the liquid tea comes into the cup or in the kettle. That is the procedure. That is actually filtration. So filtration is done for mixtures which are liquid in liquid. Okay, and solid in liquid. And sieving was the method which was being practiced for solid in solid. In sieving, both the components have to be solid. But in filtration, one component has to be solid and the other has to be liquid. That is why when your mom is making tea, the tea leaves, the ginger, the cardamom are solid particles, the solid component, which are being mixed in water, milk, which are liquid components, and the tea finally is in the liquid state. So the insoluble solid component is separated through the process of filtration. I hope it's clear now. Let's move ahead. All right. Sedimentation and decantation, again a kind of a method for the separation which you all have seen at home. You must have seen that before cooking rice or any pulses, any dal, your mom used to soak them in water. Okay, my dear lovely children, I hope you all are liking our videos. So please press the like button. Don't forget to press the like button. And if you have any queries, any doubts, any questions, children, please put your questions, doubts, queries in the comment box below. I also insist you all to give your feedback for the session so that we can improve ourselves and put your suggestions into our videos. So don't forget to put your queries, because as I will get your queries, your super science teacher Ambika will definitely respond to it. Now let's continue. So as I was saying, when your mom is cooking any kind of this dal or rice, so before cooking, she soaks them in the water, maybe for 20 minutes, maybe for half an hour, depending what is being cooked. What happens? When you put a particular part, grains, in water, the grains settle at the bottom and the impurities float on the surface of the water. Isn't it? This method is your sedimentation. Sedimentation is the method in which the heavier particles will settle down at the bottom of the container and the lighter particles will float on the surface. And this is how the separation is done. That means the useful component is settling down at the bottom and the unwanted substances are floating on the surface of the water. And then you throw away the water with which the dust particles and other unwanted substances are removed off. The next is decantation, which I have told you just now. That is transferring of that liquid from that vessel to another vessel, or to just throw it away. So first you have soaked the rice so that rice particles or rice grains have been settled down. The dust particles and unwanted substances are floating on the water surface. And then what have you done? You have just poured the water out into another vessel or in the sink, and all the dust particles and unwanted substances have been removed off. So this is sedimentation and decantation, right? Now let's see ahead. Churning. Now this is something which was earlier practiced a lot, but these days you don't see it manually, but definitely through machines, which I will tell you. Churning is something to separate the heavier component and the lighter component by rotating at a very high speed. That means the best example is your mixer grinder. In the same way, your mixer grinder also works, and in the same way this method also works. For example, if you are making a curd raita, and what you are doing, you have put the curd, water, everything, and then you have to rotate it with a churn machine. So if churning is done a little more, the ghee or the butter starts floating on the surface. So what is that? The heavier component is separated aloof and the lighter component is also separated. So churning is something in which by rotating the mixture like this at a very high speed, the two components automatically get separated. The lighter components forms a upper layer and the heavier component is at the bottom. Okay, distillation. This is the last method of separation, the 10th one. So distillation is used to obtain the pure liquid from a solution. It involves both evaporation and condensation, and it is used to convert or form salt water to fresh water, to turn salt water to fresh water. Now see what happens. As you can see in the image over here, the first thing they have shown is a Bunsen burner in above which a beaker, a beaker is there in which a liquid is present. That is the solution. Now the solution is being heated because of the Bunsen burner flame, and it will start converting into water vapor. Now the water vapor, the thermometer is over there. Now the water vapor will start going up, but as there is no heat, it will start converting again to the liquid droplets. That means what will happen? Condensation. And as the liquid droplets will form over here through the condenser, it is being collected out. So what you are doing? First you are doing evaporation and then you are doing condensation. Evaporation, condensation. And both the parts of the mixture are separated. This is distillation. I hope it's clear to everyone. It is used to turn salt water into fresh water. How it is used like that? When salt water or sea water or saline water, समुद्र का पानी इसमें रखा जाता है और उसे heat किया जाता है, so what will happen? Water will eventually convert to water vapor and it will rise. What will left behind? Salt. And then that water vapors will be condenses into liquid water droplets, और पानी यहाँ पे fresh water आपका collect हो जाता है. So that is how salt water is converted to fresh water. Okay? Now let's see ahead. Alright, use of more than one method of separation. As I have told you in the introductory part, that when you have a mixture in which you have more than two components. See, when you have two components, you have seen all the 10 methods which you can use depending upon the physical state, that means the state of the substances, their particle size. But when you have more than two components in a mixture, then you have to use maybe 2, maybe 3, depending upon the number of components of a mixture, the methods. Now, for example, if you have a mixture of sand, ink and water, let's discuss it. See, suppose this is a beaker in which you have a mixture of, first you have taken water, then you have poured in it some sand, and then you have poured from one side some ink. So this is a solid substance, this is a liquid, and water is also liquid. Now you have to separate them. So how you will separate them? Ink will dissolve in water completely. It will form a miscible liquid solution, and sand will be insoluble substance. It will settle down at the bottom. Now you have to obtain all the three components. You need water also separately, ink also, and sand also. So what you will do? You will use two methods. First you will do distillation and filtration, both the methods you have to use. First you will do filtration. With the filtration, what will be separated out first? Sand, because you know that in filtration method you have a filtration funnel, and the solid components or the residue remains in the filtration funnel, and the filtrate, which is the normal liquid, comes in the conical flask. So the solution of water and ink will be coming into the filtration flask, and sand will be separated out. Then you will use distillation, that means use of evaporation and condensation to get ink and water. Water will be evaporated, then condenses. So ink एक तरफ separate हो जाएगी, water एक तरफ आ जाएगा. आपको आपके तीनों components mixture के easily extract कर लिया आपने. Now the next is if you have a mixture of sand, salt and water. Okay. For example, you have again taken a beaker in which you have water. Then you have put up some sand and you have added some salt. So your mixture is ready. You have sand, salt and water. The mixture is ready. Now you have to again separate all the three components of the mixture, and you need them separately. So how you will do it? You have to use decantation, filtration, evaporation and condensation. That means first you have to do decantation. What was decantation? Decantation was to pour out the liquid into another vessel without disturbing the sediments or the particles which are settled at the bottom. So what will be settled at the bottom? Sand. So what you will do? You will pour out the liquid into another vessel, and what will be separated out? What will remain on the bottom of this beaker? Sand. So sand is separated out. Then you have to do filtration, evaporation and condensation. That means filtration will be used to separate the salt or the solid particles of sand which are still there, because कुछ sand तो पानी के संग बह के दूसरे beaker में जाएगी ही जाएगी, हम कितना भी कोशिश करें. तो उन sand के particles को separate करने के लिए आप filtration का use करेंगे. In filtration funnel, the sand particles will stick and the filtrate will come out. Now the filtrate will be containing salt and water. Salt is completely dissolvable in water. हमें पता है salt पूरी तरीके से dissolve हो जाता है water में. तो उसके बाद आप evaporation और condensation का use करेंगे. And tell me, evaporation and condensation together, they are known as which method? The 10th method, that is distillation. So actually then you will do distillation. Salt अलग रह जाएगा, पानी आप अलग collect कर लेंगे. So you were able to separate sand, salt and water by using multiple methods. So the basic concept is that if you have a mixture in which there are more than two components, you have to use different methods to get the components separately. Now let's move ahead. Can water dissolve any amount of a substance? The first thing you need to understand in this concept is solubility. That means the amount by which a solid dissolves in a liquid at a particular temperature. कि एक लिक्विड में हम कितना सॉलिड सब्सटेंस डिसॉल्व कर सकते हैं, दैट विल बी द सॉल्युबिलिटी ऑफ दैट लिक्विड. इन दिस केस वी आर डिस्कसिंग फॉर वाटर, कि पानी में हम कितना नमक या कितना शक्कर कितनी क्वांटिटी में उस वाटर में डिसॉल्व कर सकते हैं, दैट इज द सॉल्युबिलिटी ऑफ दैट वाटर. Then what is the solution? Mixtures of solid, liquid or gases dissolve in liquids. ऐसा मिक्सचर क्या होता है कि सॉलिड, लिक्विड या गैसेस तीनों भी हो सकते हैं, दो भी हो सकते हैं, कोई एक भी हो सकता है. उसे आपने किसी भी लिक्विड में डिसॉल्व किया तो वो एक मिक्सचर बनता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ऑक्सीजन डिसॉल्व्ड इन वाटर इज अ मिक्सचर. What is water? Water is H2O, which is a combination or a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. Then if I'm saying you are making tea, that is milk and water you are being added. Again a mixture. So there can be different examples. Then solute is the substance which dissolves in a liquid. And solvent is the liquid in which the solute is dissolvable. यानी कि जो बेसिक मीडियम होता है, जो लिक्विड होता है, उसे आप सॉल्वेंट कहते हैं. जो सब्सटेंस आप डिसॉल्व कर रहे हैं उसे आप सॉल्यूट कहते हैं. Now what is a saturated solution? A saturated solution is that solution in which no more solute can be dissolved. That means, suppose you have a glass of water, 1 glass of water. Now, according to you, how many spoons or how many tablespoons of sugar can be dissolved in this 1 glass of water? Maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. But a point will come that after which sugar will not dissolve in this 1 glass of water and it will start depositing at the bottom. So what is this shows? What this will be showing to you? This will be showing to you that this is now has become a saturated solution. कि अब अगर आप शक्कर डाल रहे हैं इसे 1 गिलास के पानी में तो वो डिसॉल्व नहीं हो रही है, क्योंकि अब उसमें स्पेस ही नहीं है उन पार्टिकल्स को एडजस्ट करने के लिए. इट हैज़ कम टू इट्स मैक्सिमम सॉल्युबिलिटी. इट हैज़ बिकम अ सैचुरेटेड सॉल्यूशन. अब उसमें कोई और सॉल्यूट डिसॉल्व नहीं हो सकता है. ऑलराइट. Okay, the last topic for this module, increase and decrease in temperature affects solubility of a substance. अगर temperature ज़्यादा है, that means if you are providing heat, the solubility will increase. And if temperature is low, अगर cooling condition है, temperature कम है, then solubility will decrease. The best example is hot milk and cold milk. If you have a glass of hot milk and you pour a spoon of sugar into it, it will dissolve very easily in a fraction of seconds. But if you have a refrigerated or cold milk or even a normal room temperatured milk and you are putting a spoon of sugar into it, it will take some time to dissolve because the solubility decreases when temperature falls. अगर temperature कम है, substance ठंडा है तो उसकी solubility कम होगी. अगर वो गर्म है, temperature ज़्यादा है तो उसमें solute easily dissolve हो जाएगा. Solubility will be high. Alright? Alright, my lovely children, with this we have come to the end of this super amazing session and I hope that you all have subscribed to the Educatup YouTube channel and I'm sure you all have loved our video. So it's time to press the like button, children. And any doubts, any queries, any questions, your feedback, please put it up in the comment box so that your super science teacher Ambika can respond to it. For me, it's time to sign out and till the time we meet again, be happy, be safe and keep enriching yourself with Educatup. Bye-bye children.